I just want to kind of go over and review a perfect hygiene schedule. A lot of thought was put behind this, and a lot of some changes I've made to have the most effective, productive hygiene schedule around, I think. And I think it's a perfect way to run an office. I think it's a perfect way to run a schedule, and I think it's a perfect way to be the most effective and the most productive you can be, and serve your patients the right way and not have them wait. To do that, I've gone 10 days out in our schedule here at MyCare, and you can see that the different columns up to these girls are all hygienists working. So you'll see from 3 to 9, those are all hygiene, and that's 10 days out, we're booked. So it's coming, it's looking good. These 3 columns here, we don't have a person working those 3 columns. And the reason I changed that is because I found that with assisted hygiene, true assisted, that sometimes the patients were waiting a little longer than they should. And I also felt that this was a little more effective in the numbers at the end of the month, in the end of the day, how effective we can be and more productive with the girls' time, the office's time, the ops times, and serve the patients properly. To run this schedule, you need the proper staff, and it's the only way it will work is with the proper girls. You need to have, here we have 5 hygiene working. So we have 5 hygienists working from 3 to 9. So that's simple. 30 minutes for a child, 40 minutes for an adult. That's simple. Each of the 2 hygienists have 1 PDA working with them. One of those PDAs has to be a hygienist that's working as a PDA. And I'll explain in a few minutes why. One can be just a PDA, an assistant. So these 2 girls here have this young lady working with them. These 2 girls have this young lady working with them. And basically they're there to bring in the patient, do the instruments, set up the trays, stay for the doctor's check, everything that a PDA would do as a hygiene assistant. This column here, these 3 columns, are manned by this person who is a hygienist. But she really is working as a PDA, and we only pull from her if these girls can't see these patients. We run 3 columns for 5 hygienists, which probably to you sounds extreme, but it works. Because when you run 5 hygiene from 3 till 9, you are going to empty out 2 of these columns, guaranteed. If you don't empty out those columns, that's okay, because you've got a hygienist working here as a PDA, and you've got a hygienist working here as a PDA. So both of those girls can see those patients. These girls can run solo for an hour. They're fine. They can do it. They're absolutely fine to do that. They love the help when they can get it. It makes their night run smoother, but they also know if there's a phantom patient over here, that if their hygienist / PDA has to go over and do that patient to make the night run smooth, they can do that. That is the only way this will work. If this column, by the end of the night and by the first of the day, I want this whole column, 1 for sure, all 3 of those to be filled. As the openings come through the day for last minute cancellations, people get called into work, they're sick, etc., 2 of these columns will filter into here. This column I want always to be filled by the night. It doesn't always happen that way, but that's ideally how I want it to go. It's a work in progress with the girls here right now, and we're working really hard to make sure, because then this young lady, she's my hygienist. She will do these patients. Then down here, because you're going to get people that are going to cancel at 7 o'clock, they got called, the kids are sick, I'm too tired, I don't want to come in, whatever the reason being, you've still got those patients down here for a backup if you need them. This young lady here will always help this hygienist too. So she's always there to help whoever needs her help, but she's also there to work this column. Ideally, you'll end up with not only running 5 hygienists, you'll have no openings, and you'll have an extra column that's manned by a hygienist. To fast forward to our today schedule, you can see how today has rolled out from 3 to 9. We ended up having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 girls filled. And we ended up with 3, 4, 5, potentially 5 extra appointments that our hygienist/PDA will work on. Now, this just doesn't happen. It comes with work. It comes with girls working in our office. It comes with this schedule being monitored probably all day long. We have girls that work in the office from 7 o'clock, 7:30 in the morning until 9 at night. They work only on the hygiene schedule. We don't move our phantoms in to fill openings. We don't move them in until the opening is there. Because what happens is, if you move that phantom in too soon, the girls sometimes will try to sneak it in, but then we move it right back out. Because you want the front desk to see an opening right away. So when they have Mary on the phone and she's trying to book, she sees that opening with the hygienist immediately. So that way, if something happens and there is an opening, then over comes the phantom. If there isn't an opening, then our hygienist/PDA does work on that. We actually had we had snow today, and this is how our day ended up. It ended up that way because of our 3 extra columns. If we hadn't had those 3 extra columns, our 5 hygienists, probably one of them would have been canceled. We don't cancel our girls. It used to be that in the morning at 9 o'clock, they were looking to cancel our night shift. It wasn't busy, they were going to cancel it. Let's cancel them now, let's tell them they're not working. It's in all fairness. We don't do that now. We wait, and the girls that work in the office feverishly do their 1-week calls and try to move the patients over, and they try to fill it, and they do a great job. We're really, really lucky to have the girls we have. They're well trained, they're passionate about their job, and they get how important it is to fill that schedule. So that's what they do, and they do a great job. As you can see, with having snow today, that's the job they did. An interesting thing happened today. There was a phantom patient today, and somebody in the back was moving it into a hygienist. So I moved it out, back into phantom. They moved it back in, and I moved it back out. And they moved it back in, and I moved it back out. And I wanted to see how many times we were going to do that. And then they stopped, because they probably see my name is attached to it. Then I went back, and I said, why are you doing that? And they said, well, you know what, it's not going to work, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, but it will work, because we have a hygiene/PDA that will do that patient if everybody shows up. In the meantime, I know that you don't want this young lady to start later in her day. So you're trying to protect her so she doesn't lose hours. I get that. But in the meantime, give the girls a chance to fill that schedule, and they did. So not only did they fill that opening, we had that extra patient now. So actually, if they had moved that in, potentially, yes, she would have started on time, but we wouldn't have had the extra patient. That extra patient not only brings revenue to the hygiene department at approximately, $2.20 or $2.30 an hour, it brings work to the doctors. So you can't just look at what it brings to the hygiene, you have to think of what the work they pulled out of that appointment. So it's far beyond what our hygiene produces. Our hygiene department produces approximately $2.30 to $2.50 an hour every month. If it falls below that, we're starting to wonder why. Last month we were $2.30, and we're actually making some changes in the schedule right now. And the changes being that we're leaving 1 full column at all times, has to be a phantom column, always. At 3 o'clock, I want to see that column full. And we actually have had a meeting about that, so the girls know that. And that will allow for the last minute openings in the evening, and that will allow for your schedule to be filled. And it's the only way that you can do this, the only way. To run this schedule the way it ran, you have to run it with hygiene/PDA. Don't try to weed your PDAs out of your schedule, because it's so much more effective to run it with a hygienist that can jump in at any time and be a hygienist. You can pad that schedule, because you always have her as a backup. If you have a PDA doing it, and it took me a long time to figure that out, if you have a PDA doing that and you see your phantom is double booked, I start to worry. What's going to happen if everybody shows? That's not good patient care. It's not going to work. So have the hygienist work as a PDA. They jump in and be a hygienist. They book their time as a hygienist when they're a hygienist. But when you're running your night schedule and you're packed from 3 to 9, and you have 5, you have 2 hygiene/PDAs and 1 PDA. That's okay, that will work. Eventually here, we will have only hygiene/PDA, and then we can actually have 4 phantom columns, and it will work perfectly. Just to clarify, when I talk about PDA, I mean a preventive dental assistant, someone that you would hire when you're hiring for your doctor to work as an assistant. They can be trained in the hygiene department very easily. When we hire a hygiene/PDA, she's a hygienist. We're really lucky here because we have a ton of hygienists looking for jobs that are struggling at finding jobs. So they love the opportunity to start here, and they're very happy to work as a hygiene/PDA. They're happy to work as a PDA, and they're happy to work as a hygienist when we need them, because they know that down the road they will end up probably with, if they're good, they'll end up with full-time hygiene hours. So they all start at the bottom, they know that, and they get paid higher than a PDA, but they don't get paid as much as a hygienist, but they know it's just a matter of time before they will work their way into a full-time hygienist. And some of them actually like the versatility of working in both departments. They like working hygiene, but they like working as a PDA too. So it's kind of the best of both worlds for them. Some of them prefer more hygiene, and that's fine. We work with every individual how they like it. Just so you clarify when I'm talking about PDA, what that means. So just to summarize, what an office can get from running a system like this is, patient care, great patient care. The girls are working 1 with 2, and the patients don't wait. And that's perfect. It works great. Hiring your hygiene, giving them the opportunity. There's so many hygienists that have gone to school, and they're just grateful to have the opportunity to work here. It's great for the office. It's a business. It works perfectly. The girls here work on production. They're happy. They have full nights. So it's a great night for them. It's a great night for the patient, and it's a great night for the office. So we can't ask for more than that. It's always a work in progress. There's always challenges, and it's a constant measure of the schedule, but overall it's a perfect fit for any dental office.